And there's actual science here, guys. There's science behind gratitude, right? If we really intentionally try and live in gratitude, it changes our heart and it changes the way our brains are actually thinking. So I started to write down in this dark time where I hadn't been feeling grateful for anything, what I was grateful for. Some of those things were really small, like the smell of coffee in the morning and the fact that my husband makes it for me without fail. The feeling I get when I lay on the couch and my little one-eyed cat comes and lays on my lap. I love her so much. The sound of Sam playing the piano, one Beatles tune over and over and over. I might be the only person still finding joy in that tune in our house. I know the other kids are not. Or the sound of Kate's awesome laugh. Her laugh is just the best. Or Thomas, who is now like this tall, like coming at me with this hug, right? Like this full body hug, like he's still this big because he doesn't quite understand, like he can now knock me down. A text, just a little text, unsolicited from one of my college girls that just like tells me how they are, right? Like, oh, it's the best. Or finding enough pairs of socks on the top of the giant sock pile. And I'm like, man, this gets the whole family through the week and I don't even have to do the whole thing. That's the best feeling. Or, really someone else making dinner. Because honestly, it is the hands down the worst, most horrible part of my day. And maybe some of you love it. And I feel like we should just like trade jobs. I'll like pair your socks for you and you can come make dinner. So I just started with gratitude, right? Right under my nose were all these things that I hadn't been paying attention to. Then I made a little list, a pretty convicting list for my heart of the people I needed to start giving grace to acknowledge the massive amounts of grace that God was flowing into my life through all the people around me. How could I give some of that back? That list was not short. It even included things like, I went deep, guys. It was even like random people online, right? Like I need to be giving grace to all the people in all my spaces. And then I wrote a prayer list. So I moved from this gratitude into this grace. And then I was thinking about prayer, and I just love thinking about there's also some science behind prayer. I don't know if you've ever looked at that, but where people can actually if a lot of people are praying for them at one time, that person can actually feel it, or there's actual medical differences that happen in their heart rates and in their blood pressure. Prayer, man, it is powerful. Then I watched a movie about Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you've seen the one about his life. Guys, Tom Hanks is in my speech 2 times. He should be my friend. I once thought he was my friend online. A fake Tom Hanks friended me online. It was a whole thing. It was really embarrassing because I got really excited about it. But in this movie about Mr. Rogers, he carries around this notebook. Have you guys, anyone seen it? And see, he carries around a notebook and he writes down when he's gonna pray for people. I was like, man, how many times in my life am I like, I'm gonna pray for you, I'm praying for you. Do I remember to pray for them? Do I pray for them at the right time? Every once in a while, I've made a connection where I will set an alarm on my phone to pray for a person at a certain time, which I think is another really powerful prayer strategy. But writing down the people I was going to pray for, I started doing it. And then I wrote down my own prayers. And I gotta tell you, it was transformative for me. Because what you start to see when you look back at those prayers that you forgot you prayed for are all sorts of ways God has showed up to answer them that we don't even know, or we just forget about, or we just assume, oh, this happened, that was great. That's God working in our lives for us to be intentionally seeing that play out. Man, does that change our hearts. So then I was able to do this. I was able to show up. This was a mindset change. And this is on a Post-it. Actually, if you come to my office, I had to start getting rid of the Post-its because they were all getting kind of cranky and falling apart. But it's on my whiteboard. I have a whiteboard now where like the quote from my teacher is, and other quotes are. But one of my quotes that I've written in the biggest letters is that I need to show up every day as if every single person that I meet is doing the absolute best they can. Like right from that middle schooler, right? Okay, I'm surrounded by a lot of middle schoolers. Like from my people at home, the cashiers, the people in the line at the high school dropping off their kids. That's a really hard one, right? But I had learned there were days, man, I was all sorts of hard to be around. And people were showing up for me anyway. And they were giving me grace. This is just true for all of us. All of the grace for all of the people, all of the time. And that helped me to make decisions from a way more solid place. Not how I was feeling about what someone said to me, about how I was doing my job, or about how I was showing up, but instead my decisions were made from a place walking in Him and walking with Him. And everything changed, everything. Except for also nothing changed. Not a single one of my circumstances was different during this time. Every single thing that had happened to me was still going on. Not one single bit of it was even getting better. Except my heart. My heart was completely different. Man, it was miraculous. Because I was not defined by what other people thought about me, or said about me, or said to me. I was free. I was free to give grace and to go back in and to find some joy. And I really, truly felt in that moment, I understood how joy was so different from happiness. Happiness is like a fickle, fickle friend, right? It's easy for happiness to stick around when everything is going your way. But when the chips are down, happiness every single time takes a hike. But joy is always there in the hardest of circumstances because it's based in God's love and in His creation. Not one bit is based on circumstance. These lessons, I'm telling you, are things I probably had already told my kids a million times. I had written about them. I had said these things, but I really learned them deeply when I felt like pieces of my life were just crashing down around me. A little. When I really felt His grace, and I used that grace to pull myself from the pit, I could see, man, we just have this one beautiful life. Am I going to spend my days with my arms crossed silently in a meeting because I'm a little bit mad? Oh, my word, I am not. Because there are no do-overs. We just need to do the best we can every day, and we have to be okay with that, right? Give ourselves grace, even when we're doing our best, is like 64%. Or like if you're me during this time, I was probably like 12% of my capacity of being a good human was being utilized, right? So we give ourselves grace for that. We're not gonna all have 100% days every day. Man, I don't even know if I ever had 100% day. 100%, that's a big number. Grace, all the grace. And the good news is by not fleeing, I got that grace. Now, I think fleeing would have also maybe been an okay choice. I think there would have been grace on the other side of that too, right? Because God is with us either way. I am now in a place where I can serve as a child of God, not as a dedicated teacher, right? And if it all went away tomorrow, every bit of it, you know what? I would still be absolutely okay. Because I'm on the other side of that pit, I can now see the lesson actually seeped out into other parts of my life And I really needed it to do that. Because that struggle I was having with my kids growing up and leaving me, that had been in my heart before any of these other things started, had flat out been one of the hardest things I'd ever had to face. It was worse than this personal crisis, because I've loved being a mom. I've loved it to the point, I'm sure I'm romanticizing the whole thing. There are people in here with little babies, and you are gonna be like, stop it. We are potty training people. We are up all night. No one leaves us alone. I'm the most touched out person on the planet, but I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. I miss all of it, right? Even after like my therapist challenged me, she's like, Amy, you have to come up with one thing that you're looking forward to when the kids leave. I have nothing. I am gonna go down fighting. I'm gonna say, I miss their shoes in the front hall. I'm gonna miss the way their rooms smell when there's too many gross dishes in there. I am gonna miss every single bit of it. Again, I kind of like to lean into the wallow a little bit, so I might be doing a little bit of that here, but there's just no facts. We're just gonna let me live here, all right? And even in those moments now when I know I'm gonna miss it all, the shift that has happened for me is I know I'm still going to be okay. My identity as a mother is something I've loved, and I've loved being like not just a mother, but a mother of littles, right? A mother of elementary kids, like all those pieces that I've loved, even though they're shifting. This identity is actually one I get to keep, even though the terms around it are changing without my permission. I am just going to stay exactly the same. I am going to be that same child of God. I am going to stay here rooted in Him, going nowhere. So when my kids go, as everyone told me they would, and it's really happening, wish you were all liars, God will stay. And you know what? That isn't nothing. And it might actually be everything. And the really cool part is that even though He stays with me, because He is just so big, He also goes with them. Gosh, what a miracle worker, right? He loves them with a love that like surpasses mine. What? I can't even believe that. So in this all, I know they will be okay too. We're all rooted in the right place. So when I forget, as I will, and when I lament, as I will, I have a graduate this year, so there will like 100% be like third round of fresh tears coming at you. Just wait for it. If you follow me online, I'm already sorry about the posts that are gonna come. I know even in those moments, His grace will cover me, right? It's okay. And there's going to still be joy there. I'm just gonna have to find it. Instead of finding it and like tucking in my sweet babies and having them all wave to me when they leave, or when I leave. Oh, now they're leaving. Oh. Instead, I'm gonna find it in like getting excited about like a new bedspread for someone's apartment, right? Or like a new job, or like I've tried to get really excited about changes of majors because we've got to do a lot of that, and that it's a little rougher to be excited about. But we're there still celebrating and finding joy with those tall kids that were the sweet babies that I tucked in. We still have that, right? We are rooted right in the right place. Guys, I thought by the time I reached this age, right, and we probably think this at any age, right, that we're gonna have it all figured out. I thought I had the lessons and I knew what to do. I was coasting through. This was working. I thought I'd have a lot more wisdom, and I thought I'd have so much figured out. And instead, the only thing I think I've figured out is that like I'm constantly going to be like hitting a wall and course correcting and then doing something else and course correcting over and over and over on a loop. There have been so many times now that I've had to apologize and figure out how to move forward. Sometimes I've had to apologize to my very own self and take a deep breath and keep going. Man, there's been way more laying awake at night, like spinning things through my head and replaying them on the loop, and then like grabbing my phone and playing a quick round of Heyday to like distract myself to sleep than I ever thought there would be in my life, right? I thought after the baby stage, I was sleeping peacefully. I'm sorry. I'd like to tell you what happened. Just pretend. It's gonna be fine, right? But I also know so much more about how to dust myself up and pick myself up, right? To try to do better every single time by the people in my world. And I know, like, guys, there's gonna be seasons where everything is awesome, right? You've got it, you are floating along, nothing to see here. And then lying in wait, there's gonna always be seasons that we're just gonna say are going to bring growth, right? And that's all right. Our lives sometimes are suddenly going to be thrown off kilter. And we're gonna be navigating something new and hard. And our hearts might be breaking a little. And when that breaking happens, that's how we know we're experiencing that growth. God breaks us apart to help us be put back together in an even stronger and better way. Even in those moments where we're like, God, I feel it, feel the growth. I'm set here. I feel like that was plenty. We can stop, right? We have to just know eventually in his time, that's what will happen. And we have to know that, gosh, we are loved by God himself when our head hits the pillow and when we get out of bed in the morning, right? We are loved by God as we struggle throughout our day and make yet another misstep, or when we're like too tired to go on. We are loved by God in the middle of the night, and he wants us to put our phones down and pray. And I know, God, I swear, it's like, I've got it. We are loved. God loves us. He sends people who love us too. And we need to stop always staring straight at that hard thing and stop and look around, because he is right there. He is giving us all the grace and pointing toward all the joy. He is there in that coworker that stopped by for a chat just because, and in the tall kiddo that like let me hug them as long as I wanted, and the parent that dropped off food for their child, me, who might be in her 50s, and the person who took time to leave a nice comment on something they read online, and in getting to hold a friend's new baby. Oh, wonderful. And in the way the sun poked through those clouds for like a hot minute. And in the quiet of my yoga practice, he is there every day in like the super ordinary moments. He's just waiting for us to notice him. He is using us all the time to speak to others and show them there is love even in the hard times, even when there are headaches and car problems and unspeakable things that are happening in our family. God is sending us people. We might not always have a way out of our troubles, but we have each other and we have God, and man, everything is just lighter. His love is always there. His grace is always there. His joy is always there. Look around for his love and show his love to every single person around you, because you might be the way they see God today. I know that might mean you have to give up the good parking space and wave somebody else in, right? Sometimes it's being a little sacrificial in that moment. We can look for his love and know that he's got us and we've got each other. All the amens to that one, right? Now, since I have you here today, and since I am a teacher, we're gonna do a little lesson, not really a lesson, but a little bit of work, all right? So grab those journals that you got. I think there's more up here if you didn't get one. And I wanna send you off today with a little bit of time spent yourselves thinking about some of the pieces that I talked about. All right, I'll wait just in this, it's called Teacher Wait Time, where you wait for everybody to be ready to go. I won't do teachery things like making you all hold up your pens so I know that you're ready, and all holding up your journals so that I know that you're ready, right? Because I just know you're ready. All right, so we're gonna start first with, this is actually something I do with my middle schoolers that is sort of impactful. This thing is just bananas, isn't it? Is that better? I feel like it's in and out. Yeah, okay. So the first thing we're gonna start with is our identities. So that was a big thing for me, was sitting down to realize where I lived in the world. What were the identities I was holding onto so tightly that I wasn't seeing my identity rooted in Christ? So what you do is you start with a circle and you put your name in the circle. All right, this is like a little web. And out from that circle, I want you to write all the identities that you have in the world. So it might be daughter, sister, mother, teacher, Wisconsinite. I feel like you all here, you lovely Little Shoe people, that is an identity, right? If you're from here, I feel like that is for sure an identity. Anything at all that you hold on to, just list as many as you can think of. See, one of mine would still be Uber, even though I live here. I think that's kind of a similar one. And then I want you to make sure somewhere on those identities, if you feel it in your heart, that you list that you are a child of God, if you haven't already. So you walk away with that little reminder that you can rest in that all the time. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is work through the science of gratitude. Now, the way this works is you're really supposed to do it every day. So this might be a kickoff for you, or maybe it's something you already do every day. Is anybody in here a gratitude journaler? Yeah, some of us do that already. That's awesome. It's super impactful, right? Like, it helps just change your heart. So I want you just on this next page to take 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute, and just list the things you can think of that right now today you're grateful for. You want to try to aim for at least 5. That's your goal, right? There can be more, but remember, they can be very small. Maybe you're grateful you were in a spot where you could hear me all day today. And maybe you're wishing you could have. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to pause you in that one. You can always come back to it. The next one we're going to look for, so just like I did, we're going to look for people around us that might need our grace. This could be a convicting one. It was for me. It was a little hard. But when you think of people around you that could use a little grace, a little forgiveness, a little extra from you, who do you think of? Jot down some of those names if you're comfortable to. Otherwise, what was that? Yeah. And the very, very last one is writing down your prayer for today. What are you praying for in your own life? And I want you to write something down here so that in about a month, you can do this every day if you want. Now you have your cute little journal. But in about a month, I want you to look back at this one, all right? So write your prayer down. What prayer is on your heart? It can be more than one. It can be little. I used to pray a lot that my kids would sleep through the night, like a lot. And then if you have like a phone here that you use for alarms, or write yourself a little note. I like to use my calendar, like alert little things. Just put on your calendar a month from now. Like I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna check this little journal. And I'm gonna see how God showed up for me in the last month. I think you might be surprised to see how he's working in your life right now all the time. If we just stop and really pay attention. All right, I have one last thing. And this is a fun thing. Not that the journaling wasn't really fun. I have to make sure we always say, writing in your reader's notebooks is fun, guys. We tell them this all the time. They don't ever believe me. But because it's a book launch day, actually, as luck would have it, for So God Made a Mother. And this is the anthology, oh my gosh, I think on page 29, maybe somewhere in there. But there is an essay from me in here. And then an essay from all sorts of other writers that are just wonderful, God-filled, fabulous women. Those are the women I was partying with when I was losing my voice. But because it's book launch day, I brought a copy to give away. So Joy had the best idea. I thought this was such a good idea. Because my idea involved little pieces of paper and drawing out of a hat. Her idea was way more fun and a lot easier. So whoever birthday is closest to today is the person who gets to win the book. So I don't even know what date it is today. Is it 18th? Okay, so we have a birthday on the 18th? Anybody? Okay, anybody? Let's just go with our April birthdays. Any April birthdays? An April birthday? Okay, how many? 2 April birthdays? 3 April birthdays? Okay, 4 April birthdays? Okay, start shouting out some dates. 24th? 14th? Okay, that's math. That's closer, right? 14th is 4 days away. Okay, anybody closer than 4 days away from today? All right. Oh, you are? Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, so we have a rebirth and a birth. And we decided if there's a tie, we're just going to get a second book. So I'll get a second book, okay? And have it sent to you. And I'll hand this copy to you. That's perfect, right? I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing your story with us and for guiding everyone through the journaling exercise. I know that you've probably inspired a lot of us today to open up to God's grace and to allow the joy into our lives, and how much we all have to be grateful for and how much joy that can bring us to just recognize that. So thank you.